Hello, everyone. It is Thursday now, and that means one thing. That means it's Transfer Central. Transfer Central, where we talk about transfers, possible rumours, possible outs, possible ins. Well, more outs than ins recently, Race. How are you feeling today, first half? How are you doing on this Thursday evening?
Doing good. Exciting time certainly. A lot of player movement coming on, so we'll see what happens.
Rico, Tico. Well, back to football yesterday, and was how did you find that match? I know it was only a friendly, but it's nice to see him back on the pitch, isn't it?
It was really good. It's great to see the boys back on the pitch and doing good. I saw a little bit of um, some gaps in the middle of the pitch that the opposition team could use, but it's normal. It's the first game. It's preseason, but all in all, it was great. It was great to see them back at it.
As you said, we saw gaps in midfield and gaps that were expected. And before we're going to go into the actual game itself and the gaps that could be filled, we'll go with someone that's left a gap in not just on the pitch, but left a gap in the change room, left a gap in the club itself. Club captain John Henderson has taken the money and he's ran off as soon as he could. Is he right to do that, or should he have stayed at least another season?
I guess I'll go first here. I think it's tough, especially when you think about your captain leaving. You think of the leader. If you kind of think of like the one of the last players to leave your club for a move like that would be your club captain. But of course, with Henderson, we know that the ability he's shown on the field, in these past couple seasons, just hasn't been there. Especially this past season was a big part of the problems that we had, and so I think we all won't miss the type of player or the type of player that he was on the field. But off it, of course, certainly a really nice guy, and I'm sure well respected in that locker room. Of course, now going to Saudi Arabia and taking that money and all the things that come with that. Some questions may come up on his loyalty and all that and his ambition as a player. But for me personally, losing Henderson doesn't change how I viewed our outcome for this season or our outlook. If we had him, I would still, he wouldn't be playing as much. And if since he won't be there anymore, it just, it doesn't really move the needle either way for me with him out of the fold. So best of luck to him. Certainly we'll keep tabs to see how he does down there, but it's kind of an afterthought now. We're moving forward. We have bigger goals and ambitions to look forward to. So just kind of looking forward to our next moves here.
Tico Moose said just then, Souness said Hendo's legacy will be hurt by the move. The thing is with the Hendo thing, is it more about the way he's gone about it as well? I think Fabinho obviously is on the move as well, but there's not been much released on Fabinho. No one seems to be pushing that. He's been quite respectful. I know nothing's come out of Hendo's mouth himself, but we know it's come from his camp, and we know there's push to this move. How does his legacy look at now? Then after that, does it? I don't say it puts a dent in it, but does it stain it a little bit?
Yeah, it's as you said. There's a difference between what's been going on with him and what's been going on with Fab leaving the club. They've been quiet, and with him's been kind of, I would say, weird. I wouldn't expect this to happen in preseason after he came back showing his how much he had worked on his physique and his stamina and everything that he could offer to the team. Probably his legacy will not be completely damaged, but definitely, at least in my view, I just don't think he's done it the right way. If he wanted to leave and he wanted to have all these conversations with the Saudi club and etc., at least he could have done it differently because of what he's meant to the club and the position he's been in. He's been the captain for the past years, and he just needed to do it differently. I think that would be perhaps a little bit of damage to his legacy, but not completely damaged.
Do you think he took the coward's way out in where it's clear that he's had words with Klopp and Klopp's told him, look, you're not going to get as many minutes this season. I want you to take a back seat as a captain. Surely, obviously, like someone like Steven Gerrard did that and he took a back seat. He was happy to take a back seat, but why didn't John Henderson take a back seat? Has he done it a cowardly way and just gone like, no, I want to play in the Saudi league or whatever?
Exactly. It's been weird. It's been weird. Of course, we knew he was not gonna play all games in the season, and I thought he might understand that, but probably not.
Is it an ego? Is it an ego thing?
Hmm?
Is it a big ego thing, do you think?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, definitely. I think there's a big ego there. Perhaps not even him, but the people around him. I just want to still believe that it's not him, but yeah, it might be a problem of ego.
Well, then we'll forget about Ensign now. Then race, we'll forget about Ensign. He's gone. Thank you for the memories. Thank you for the shuffles. But more shuffles than an iPod. Yeah, let's just move on from Ensign. Move on from Fabinho. Let's talk about yesterday's match. It was only a friendly, but a win's a win. Diego Jota came on and scored 2 goals. McAllister looked amazing. Ben Doak looked class when he came on. Szoboszlai played okay in midfield in the front part. Gakpo again looking incredible. Diaz looked quite sharp in the first half. But there's still that problem, isn't there? That midfield is missing.
Yeah, I mean, of course, we have to remember that this is, our first preseason game and a friendly and all that. Also, when you look at the lineup that we put out there, to start the game, first of all, we had Trent kind of in that number 6 role, it seemed like, and obviously that's, he, towards the end of last season was a little bit in that role as an inverted fullback, but to put him straight away in midfield there. Of course, Szoboszlai next to him looked nice. And yeah, our shape, just looked out of sorts at times. I mean, certainly Szoboszlai as well. A few times I think he was kind of out of position. And again, he's new. He's learning the position or learning our system. So there's going to be some bumps in the road. And I remember in the second half, I think it was Tsimikas was in midfield, at least lined up. And I'm just like, he's a left back. He's not a midfielder. So I won't read into it too much on how much our midfield was kind of cut through. Of course, I want to see McAllister and Szoboszlai in the same midfield. And then maybe if you want to, put Trent into 6 and then see how that works for a half. I'm really curious to see, as we'll see moving forward with the next games that we have, how a midfield will look with some more regular players. Of course, Curtis Jones and Harvey Elliott returned to training today. So they'll be more involved in the coming weeks. So I mean, yeah, it's obviously, looking at the scoreline, second half down 2-1, you don't want to, give some fuel to some rival fans or whatever, kind of talking some trash about us, but we made it look good in the end. Don't look at maybe the scoreline specifically, just look at the 4-2 result, and that looks better than, the 2 late goals. So yeah, it was just always good to see the guys get out there and play, certainly.
Tico Reyes mentioned Trent in midfield, number 6. Do you think that
was great?
Do you think 6 suits him, or do you think it's playing there because we ain't got anyone else?
No, honestly, I think during his last season, before he came up to the first team, he was a 6 in the academy, and so it's a position that he knows how to play. He hasn't played there for long. And honestly, I think he did a good job organizing the team in the first half. Perhaps not as decisive as it could be, or the way he was playing next to Fabinho in the last games of the season last year. But he was good. He was good. I think the way he controlled the pitch, and I even saw a little bit of leadership there. I remember around the 30th minute, he was like pointing at spaces in the field and controlling and telling everybody to move accordingly. So he managed it really well. And just thinking about what Ray said about the team, apart from the 4-2 victory, I did see some good movements and rotations in the team that were really really good and beneficial. I actually liked Simicas inverting his position and going to moving up to center midfield in attack. He was really well. He was all over the center midfield. Perhaps he was not accompanied by somebody who had a lot of experience playing the position, and that could have been uh, uh, detrimental in such a way. But he did a good job there. I think the team is moving in the right direction, and having two different teams playing the same way we or trying to play the same way we finished last year uh, is certainly good for the team, especially doing different things like Simicas going to midfield, which he didn't do last year.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have John Henry in the chat today, guys. John Henry's watching us live, asking Klopp to play Curtis at 6. You know, Curtis has got a big season coming up, Rich, because he was incredible last 10 games of the season. Incredible again for the England 21s. Is there a chance he could even push through into the first team, or is he going to be that squad player that we expected?
I think, you know, he certainly wants to be in the mix. And of course, we've bought 2 players that kind of are in the positions that he's played in. And I think pushing him to the 6, I don't think that's really his play style. I think he wants to get forward, attacking and all that, you know. So, you know, one of those kind of number 8 roles, you know, we have a little bit of both, a little defensive work, but I think a more attacking from midfield. You know, I mean, I said this kind of about Henderson a while back, you know, bringing in players, it just invites competition, and competition can bring the best out in a player. And Curtis, you know, he's just come off a great run of form to end last season, was stellar with the U21s this summer. Now he's coming back, and now he's got competition. He's like, oh, I just played well, but I'm not set in stone here. So I have no doubt that he'll be confident, you know, going into this season, and hoping to get one of those starting spots. It's tough to project what kind of our first lineup will look like right now. I can't think off the top of my head, but you know, just I wonder. But he's back in time now. But you know, I think he's certainly going to be in contention to be one of our starting midfielders this season.
If he continues his form, then you know there's no reason to drop him at times, because he was probably, you know, alongside Trent and Gakpo, the best 3 in the last 9 games of the season. So, I know it's nice to have that sort of a player like that that's doing that, because before he wasn't as consistent. You know, we always say he needs a run of games, but even when he got a run of games, he was never really consistent. You could pick out 1 or 2 games where he was unbelievable. Or the Porto one comes in mind to me where it was unbelievable. But when it comes to midfield, then this season, yesterday's game, Tico, what kind of player do we need? For me, those DMs are absolutely vital. If we got get a DM, or at least 2 DMs in this transfer window, you're talking this is difference between fighting for the title or fighting the top 4. Do you think it's that serious?
It is. I think so. Hopefully we are wrong, and if we keep the same team, we win everything. But it is true that we do need DMs. We need defensive midfielders who can come to the team and show that they are first team players, and they have the quality then necessary to perform at the best. And we need rotation there in that area of the pitch too. We're gonna play Premier League, the Europa League, and the Cup. So we do need rotation, and we need players that can come to the pitch. Now Fab leaving and Hendo leaving leaves the door open to sign players, and DMs is what we need right now.
What kind of player, Tico? Do we think we need 2 rugged players, 2 ones that's going to get stuck in, or do you think we need like just a holder of the ball?
It's tough. I think we do need at least one destroyer who can help whoever is gonna play next to him in the double six area, whether it's Trent or uh, somebody else. But we do need a destroyer, somebody who can cover a lot of ground that is left behind, uh, and can cover spaces that uh, are left whenever our team is moving forward.
Race, do you agree with that? Do you
Yeah.
think we need one of
So,
each?
yeah, I would definitely, with losing Fab and Hendo, I'd like to see two more midfielders come in, because the players that we kind of have right now for that number 6, it's by Chedic, and then is Tyler Morton going to be a piece this season? He's still recovering from an injury that he had last season, and then of course we just saw Trent make a small cameo, but is that kind of a long term solution there? So it's really uncertain. So I would definitely like to see a couple midfielders come in. For me, Lavia would be the pick of the bunch for me. He's kind of one that I'd like, and for the price, it's not too expensive, maybe a little more overpriced, but he'd be my pick. Of course, we've talked about a number of different players in the last couple of weeks, but yeah, I think we need I'm confident if Klopp can bring in a couple of guys, he'll get one of them right for the position, and even if it's some of a rotation, by committee, I'd feel confident that he'd get that right.
I feel like this window's got even trickier. The fact that Fabinho and Hendo have gone, because we're now leaving ourselves in a situation where whoever we bring in, this could set us up for the next 5 to 10 years. And if it's someone like a Lavia, if it's like a Lavia and relying on Lavia and Betetic as number 6, it's too much for those youngsters to do. And what we're doing there then is not only ruining next season possibly, but ruining the next 5, 10 years. Because these youngsters, if they get that pressure put on them at that age, and it's too much for them, that could ruin their careers. That's how serious this window is. And I've just seen Kimmich come up in the conversation in the comments, Tika. I think Kimmich for me is the perfect one to go alongside Lavia. Do you agree?
Oh yeah, definitely. Kimmich, we all know the quality that he has and the experience that he has, and if we can sign him, it would be great, just perfectly.
It's just painful, isn't it, Tika? That's the thing. We were not even agreeing to pay with Lavia, so I don't know what. Bayern asking 64 million for Kimmich. Is it worth it? Do you think?
It is worth it. The problem is that our owners are not going to be willing to pay that much, unfortunately. That's why I think Klopp is trying in midfield now, and trying to see if it works out, because he knows and he understands uh, the kind of owners that we have, and unfortunately, I wish it was that simple that they see Fab and Hendo go, and they go for two midfielders with a great quality. Kimmich and Lavia, yeah, they're definitely good. They are, and they would be perfect if we could sign them.
Right, yes, let's move on to a different midfielder then. There's been a list of midfielders coming out from reports from like Chris Bascombe, James Pearce came out with a list. This list isn't looking that good for me in terms of bringing two in. You got obviously the obvious like Lavia, Doucoure is a good decent player, but other than that, like there's like Ryan Gravenberch, who's not a 6 by the way, and I'm surprised he was on that list for DM. He's not a 6. Another one is Kalvin Phillips race. Kalvin Phillips, Manchester City, is basically a Manchester City bench player. And today, Chris Bascombe has come out and said Liverpool officials are not happy with the price, and that they don't want to be paying that sort of much for someone like like a background player from City. They don't want to give City money anyway. But should Kalvin Phillips really be on the list, Chris?
Yeah, Kalvin Phillips is an interesting one, because he went to of course City last summer and just never really broke into the team, and sometimes it takes time for players to get into Pep's team and whatnot. I think the idea of Man City selling to one of their title challenging rivals to us would be a tough for them to do, because whatever they think about Kalvin Phillips, it would definitely be an upgrade for what we have right now, or he's certainly a good player, even though he had just didn't have a really good season last year. And that was just tough to make sense of, and why would we kind of splash the cash for someone like that? It's kind of a no go for me. It just I wouldn't entertain that really.
Say if they want 60 million for Kalvin Phillips race, what's point in doing that and then paying it? You might as well pay an extra 20 million and get Caicedo. So Caicedo's about 80 million at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the thing. Like, he's 27 years old. Kalvin Phillips is like, why wouldn't you pay that money to go get someone cheaper or someone younger? Someone that you can have in your team more and kind of develop a little more. I mean, Kalvin Phillips is just a little more, rounded out as a player as of now. What more are you going to get from him? So yeah, it certainly makes more sense to spend, if you are going to spend big, which we don't really do. Spend big on a younger player, better prospect than someone who's just kind of there.
Speaking of pricey tags, Tico, Cheick Doucoure for Crystal Palace. It's come out today by Sammy Mokbel that he is £80 million. £80 million for Doucoure. There's no chance. Absolute no chance, is there?
No, not really. Not really. I mean, he's good. He's been he could get even better if he plays for somebody like Klopp or a great manager. But 80 million for him, I don't think so. He's not worth it. Definitely not.
Do you think this is what Liverpool deserve, though, in terms of how clubs are putting prices up right now? Because we've been neglecting our midfield for 2-3 seasons, right? So we've got no excuse. We've got no backlash to this. We've got no reason to complain because we've put ourselves in this situation. We're desperate now. We're desperate. So teams are going to put the price up. This is why I was so adamant that we need midfielder last season, because I knew this was going to happen. The domino effect of not sorting your problems out beforehand and planning properly. This is what happens. You're going to get to a position now where teams are going to hold you for ransom, and they're going to put, there you go, 80 million. You're not getting him, and we end up having no one.
Yeah, the domino effect, I would say, began when we won the Champions League and we didn't sign correctly. And yeah, we've actually put ourselves in this situation, as you mentioned, and not signing good midfielders and thinking long term the last 3-4 years has put us in this situation in which we are desperate now, and we definitely need somebody who can come to the team, and show quality instantly. But yeah, unfortunately, again, let's see what happens. I don't think they're gonna sign Doucoure for 80 millions, or they're gonna be willing to pay a lot for Kalvin Phillips. That's for sure.
Before we go back onto race, I just want everyone to make sure you like and subscribe, guys. We've got 72 people watching at the moment. We've been getting some brilliant numbers, by the way, the last few days and last week or so, and it's incredible to see the regulars like Jen and Helion and Moose regulars coming on, but we've got some new people coming on as well. Make sure you hit that like and make sure you hit that subscribe and get your notification bell on as well, because we're every single night. We've got different shows coming out. We've got a podcast coming out tomorrow as well that we recorded last week. Please keep your notification bells on, because if you want to keep up the Liverpool news, keep up with Liverpool updates, have proper fan opinions like us, then please get that notification bell on, and you will be seeing us live every single night. So, Race, going to carry on from the Palace situation. Is there any team that's going to budge with their budgets, with their price tags of teams? Are we just fighting a lost cause at the moment?
I mean, of course, Palace are going to value their player at a high price, because obviously they're going to look to get as much as they can. I think for any move like that, and that price tag, yeah, it is steep for me. I think if there was any move to be facilitated, it'd almost have to be the player kind of, he sees that Liverpool are interested, and he would kind of force a move way out or try and, get that move going to maybe bring down the price and give Palace, no option that, kind of a player holdout, if you will, but not to that degree. But yeah, I certainly like the prospect of Doucoure in our team. I saw that price tag and I thought like, whoa, this guy's that much? Wow, that was a little crazy. But after seeing some stuff from him, certainly there is some value there. I kind of thought of in comparison to Caicedo, because Caicedo had a little pricier price tag, but Doucoure was a little less, and Doucoure has a little more senior experience. He had a couple seasons in the top French league, and of course his first season with Crystal Palace, I think, was their player of the year as well. Versus Caicedo, who just kind of really has one season of Premier League experience. So Doucoure, I think, in terms of just player versus Caicedo, would be a more safer option, I believe. Maybe not the higher ceiling that Caicedo has, but certainly couldn't go wrong with Doucoure. So, yeah, I mean, when we think about the list of midfielders that we're looking at, it's somewhat of a waiting game because you never know, what other business teams might do, who comes available, and then, you go from there. So there could be another midfielder that pops up here in the next week or two that we don't know, is available, or a team, sets kind of an asking price for them. So, of course, we're just talking about the ones that we know, but maybe there's more to come. So Doucoure would certainly be a nice transfer. He's only 23 years old, so certainly his best days are ahead of him, and you can kind of make him out to be our number 6 of the future. And I don't think Palace would have any issue selling to us as well. So I would. It's an interesting one, but that price tag, when I first saw it, I'm just like, oof, yeah, that's steep. Just knowing our transfer history and how much we spent this summer. I've said that for 80 million, I'd like to spread that out over 2 players if possible. Not just splash all the cash in one, especially with our dire need of a 6 right now. I just mentioned earlier, kind of bringing in a couple players and working out, okay, which one, if not both, can make it work in that number 6.
I feel like the number 6 is that important of a role that sometimes we would need to do splash the cash on it, because midfield alone is the most important position on the pitch. But I think number 6, especially in our system, is probably the most important. We saw when we talk about Alisson changing the way Liverpool played, we talk about Van Dijk changing the way Liverpool played, Salah, Mane. Fabinho really was a key reason why we were allowed to play where we were. The way we pressed from the front, because he just covered everything up. And if we don't have a key 6, and I'm talking like, go back to Alisson and Van Dijk. Look how much we paid for Van Dijk and also the Coutinho money, and we don't have Coutinho any money anymore, and this is why FSG needs to pull a finger out. But you've got to pay the price sometimes, Tico. You've just got to do it. This is a key position. A key position. If you need to win titles, you need to win trophies, you need that spine. And that number 6 is that spine. And that number 6, you cannot get it wrong. You cannot get it wrong. You can't rely on youngsters. You need to start pulling up trees and start paying for these players.
I do agree with it. The problem is, at this time, I'm just so disappointed with the way our owners are trying to not to pay for what we need. And going through the comments, I saw somebody who's mentioned that this is a time for the owners to show to show that they really back in the manager, and I do agree with it. Of course, Doucoure, I was talking about a destroyer, somebody who is a good tackler and who can be just guarding everything that's going on in the pitch. And he's that person. He's actually young. He's talented. He can grow so much, and the quality is there. And he's somebody who can come to the team, earn the spot, and be played regularly for, I would say, 5-6 years, even more than that. Is our owners gonna be willing to pay for that much for him? That's a problem, unfortunately. Hopefully I'm wrong and I'm just being too pessimistic today, but he's definitely
with the owners thing, right? And people say you got to be optimistic. The owners have never proven to me to give me an optimistic view on things, because last 2-3 years we've been neglecting midfield. Last 2-3 years Klopp's been left short. Last 2-3 years we're not willing to pay that extra 10 million, 20 million for a player. So what am I supposed to base my optimism on?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I'm optimistic when it comes to games. I think we can win every game. I think we can win the quadruple. But when it comes to like this, and knowing that we need to give Klopp the best tools, I don't think FSG are bothered about doing that. And we've seen what FSG are doing off the pitch this week. Obviously, they're building Sim City at the moment in America, in their own Boston grounds. But for me, we're gonna go on to a tweet I did yesterday. I posted it in the group chat, and it got like I think it's like 189k views now or something like that. I'm gonna go that to the end. We've got a lot to break down on that and why I put it out and why it's getting so many views and why a few people are a bit pissed off with it. But we're gonna break it down for them why they shouldn't be pissed off with it. Before that race, we'll go on to a different kind of midfielder. No more sixes. We've got a list of mid-sixes. Some are not good enough and some are just overpriced. But that's the situation we're in. Aurelien Tchouameni. He actually is a 6, for example. In fact, I'll go for Tchouameni, who's not on the list, actually, before I go to Verratti. I'm going to speak about Verratti, but I'll go to Tchouameni first. He's on the radar for Liverpool, but it doesn't look like Real Madrid's going to sell, so it seems to be a pointless thing to look at the moment, because until Real Madrid look like that they want to sell, or it looks like Tchouameni may want to leave, then are they wasting their time just even looking at him?
I think a deal for him is solely based on what Madrid decide to do with Mbappe, basically. If they see Mbappe is available, and we know that situation with PSG and him it's just up in the air right now. That's just a weird situation. But I think Madrid would be the clear contenders to go after him. And if they want to go get him, they're going to have to pay a high price, and then they would have to start selling. I would imagine they'd need some money in return to make that deal happen. So Tchouameni would kind of be, a surplus to requirements just based on the players they have already there. And, this past season, I don't think he was too featured for them. But, I think it's just a wait and see. And that's kind of a dream signing there. I mean, obviously we were interested in him last summer in Madrid, coming in with the big bucks. They're not going to shy away from that. So we would just happen to possibly make it happen a season later. So that one's certainly fun to think about. And certainly, who knows if Mbappe, because this Mbappe situation is just an odd one for me. I mean, something's got to give. And I feel like the player is I think Mbappe might come out on top in this battle that they have, because PSG certainly does.
PSG's got their hands stuck, haven't they? They can't really do it. They either sell him now or they let him go for free next season.
Yeah, and you're not going to – I don't think they'd want to turn down that much money, because – you can get that money and then they can build out the rest of their team and whatnot. Because obviously their main goal right now is Champions League. They don't care about the French league. Really. They're going to win that, be in the mix for that always. So they're really looking to get the Champions League. And so they want to get some money back from Mbappe and then, try and build a contender or something around that. So I think a deal for Tchouameni is fully dependent on the Mbappe situation. And then if Madrid go for him, they'll look maybe they'll look to sell to him. Who knows if they even will? I mean, we're just kind of speculating at this point because of our interest in him last summer. So it's kind of a waiting game on that front. But I don't want us to hold out for a move for Tchouameni and miss out on some other players. I want to see us go for these other guys right now. And then if hopefully it wouldn't get to this point where we're praying for Madrid to sell Tchouameni. So
it could be another Bellingham. Waiting for him next year, so not signing on. Jay Moose, I will break this down for you, my friend. I will break this down for the last few minutes of this stream. I mean, with the VVDs now, so yes, we can be thankful, but I'll break it down for the end. I'll come back to you, Jay Moose, at the end. Don't worry about that. I will break it all down for you. Another one then, Chico. Let's move away from it Sixers finally. Marco Verratti. According to L'Equipe, we are keeping an eye on Marco Verratti, but Atletico Madrid are currently in negotiations with him. Keeping an eye, again, another thing I keep seeing every single summer, keeping an eye, monitoring, watching, spying,
following.
are you sick of seeing keeping the eye on, and should we be now moving forwards?
Verratti, I don't know. I think I thought about it when I saw it. He's a short-term solution, and that's not what we need. That's not what we need. That would be a desperate move. I think he's 30 or 31 now, and we've seen his highs and lows, and I don't think he's gonna keep on getting better at this stage. He's good. Don't get me wrong. He's been really really good in the past, but do we really need Verratti at this time? I think it's just a desperate move, short term thinking, and that's not, at least that's not the way I see for our future at the moment.
Do you agree, Rich? Is Verratti too old now? And would you go for like a Kimmich, for example, if you're going to go for that age anyway?
Yeah, with Verratti, like it's he's it wouldn't be a Klopp transfer to bring him in. That's kind of a move you'd make, that like kind of like the Thiago signing, like you make where you kind of plug a little hole here and there. It's like a win now move. Like that your team right now is built to win, this competition or whatever. And signing Verratti, just with his age and his stature too, he's a really small guy, and we don't want to bring in kind of another small player into our midfield. They already have some guys that are vertically challenged, I'll say. And like it's just it would a move that wouldn't make sense to me. We're a sport, of course, we're looking for a midfielder, a number 6, and a defensive guy. I'm not sure if Verratti, coming into the Premier League would really excel in that type of role. Of course, when Thiago first came to the Premier League, we kind of put him in that 6 role, and I don't think that was really his best role that we saw. It's kind of a more of an attacking midfielder, kind of a managing stuff like that. A true number 6 is what we're looking for. So,
if we go for like a player in a position of Verratti's position, I think we should be looking at Thuram more so than anyone. Kevin Thuram, and someone that's younger anyway in that sort of position. Number 6, then you need someone a little bit older, as well as a young one. But the other positions, I think we're covered in terms of the full depth of what we've got. We've got a few left centre mids, we've got a few right midfields. We don't really need a Verratti in that sort of position, do we?
Yeah, not really. We're looking for a nice beefy midfielder, big strong guy in the middle. So Verratti just wouldn't really fit that profile for me. And he's old, and he's had some injury issues in the past, and he just wouldn't be a good fit for us.
Again, I keep thinking about Lavia and another guy, somebody who has those characteristics. And Lavia, he's really good at tackling, and he's really good defensively, but he offers a lot more offensively too. So he's great on the ball. He's great at dribbling and moving into spaces. And perhaps if we sign him and another guy who can cover spaces and be more of a defensive mind, number 6, it would be just great. Again, this transfer window has been kind of odd. We were moving in the right direction. We were going extremely well, and all of a sudden we were selling Fab, we're selling Hendo, and now we're desperate. And that's why we're here talking about it.
I feel like the same every single year, though, Chico. Every single year. I mean, it started well. It did last season. Look how we started. We started at the bottom. We tried getting Tchouameni in Bellingham last season. Didn't work, but we got Darwin Núñez done. We got Ramsey and Carvalho, and then it was just done. And this was really early in the transfer window, by the way. There was like 3 or 4 weeks left, the transfer window, and we were just done. And to me, feels like it's just deja vu every single season. And we always go on about it on the we say about Groundhog Day. That's how it feels. That's how it feels. And I praised, FSG for, I don't say backing Klopp, but they did back Klopp at the beginning and said, look, here you go. You need the funds for Szoboszlai and McAllister, go get him. But it's no good starting well and then not progressing onto that. And then now we've lost Fabinho and Henderson as well. I just think it's like, I think we've gone backwards this window. That's how mad it is. In a summer rebuild window, where we should have been bringing at least five players. We should have been given 3 centre midfielders, a centre back, and possibly a right back. But now we're looking at we've got 2 centre midfielders. We've lost 2 more centre midfielders. That's scratched that off. And we're needing like at least 2 more centre midfielders plus a centre back and a right. We're still needing 4 players. We've got 2 brilliant deals done. Does it feel like we're going backwards, Race, in this window?
I kind of disagree. I don't think it's gone backwards because, again, with Hendo, I don't think we've really lost anything with him. Fabinho, he was going to play if he was with us. We were going to try and it was clear we're going to try and get a new number 6 and kind of replace him. Because I just remember in this past season when Bajcetic really started to break through and get some run in, kind of as our number 6. We were playing better. Unfortunately, Bajcetic was, and this was the risk you run with really playing your youth and just giving them a lot of game time to begin with. They kind of break down, and we saw that he obviously was injured and missed the last portion of the season. But when he came into that midfield, he was just, because he wasn't Fabinho, like we got a little more energy, a little more decisiveness. We just looked better because we didn't have a player who was clearly lost a yard of pace and just wasn't fit to play in our system anymore. So I think losing Fabinho in the end isn't really a big of a loss. Where I am worried is that now if we do, again, feature Bajcetic as our kind of main 6, or if it's Trent or whatever right now with the players we have, that won't last all season. Like, injuries are a part of the game. I don't think any player right now will last, in the number 6. That's where I feel we need to, at least it seems like we're definitely interested in bringing in a number 6. And so I would still feel good if we bring in a player so that, we wouldn't have to rely on just one player. Because, again, someone's going to get hurt. Someone's going to break down or run out of form, stuff like that. I think obviously my ideal scenario is bringing in 2 players, and who knows if we'll bring in 2 or just 1. It seems like we're going to get 1 for someone. We're going to get at least 1 player. So I don't say it as backwards right now. If we ended this transfer window and we don't bring in another midfielder, I would agree with you that maybe we have to take a step back, because while it may seem like we do have a better player for number 6, I don't think it'll last, and we'll just be back to where we were last year and having to start a player that we're going to see more, we had to start Milner and Henderson so much last season. I agree we need to bring in someone else, but so I don't know. I'm still excited for the season and what we can accomplish this year, but certainly need to bring in another player.
Harry makes a good point here, Tika, about getting a deal done. So Klopp can work with players and people always say, well, Klopp's done this, Klopp's done that in the transfer window. If it was up to Klopp, he'd have had 2, 3 centre midfielders in now before yesterday's pre-season games. He wants them working. He wants them in that training. He wants to get them to his fitness level, because his fitness level is different to other teams. He wants them part of his system. So we can't blame Klopp for not getting these transfers done now, because we've played a pre-season game with 2 signings, and we've lost two major, I won't say key players in terms of on the pitch number, but major squad players anyway, at least. Can we blame Klopp for not getting these deals done?
No, not really. He's done everything he can. He's shown that he knows what he wants for his players and the kind of football that we want to play. I just don't think the owners are supporting him enough. And I do want to say, going back to the question that you asked, Race, I do agree with that we are going a little bit backwards now, because we are in a position right now in which we need to sign at least 1 defensive midfielder. But the ideal scenario will be signing 2. But last week, I think it was last week or the week before, I was here talking about our need to sign defenders, at least one center back. So right now, where our focus was on signing a center back for the future and trying to think in terms of 1 or 2 seasons from now. Now we're thinking about trying to solve the midfield problem that we thought we had kind of sorted out, and it's a step backwards in that direction that we we had this 3 4 ideas that we wanted to fulfill, and at the right when we were finishing it, we just moved one step backward and say now we have to sign another midfielder, and it's at least one more. But yeah, we cannot think about signing center backs right now because of the issue that we have in midfield. That's why I do believe that we are going backwards with what just happened.
I spoke about domino effect earlier, Tico, right? And you mentioned about not signing a centre back now, but to me, I said it the other day. I think we need 3 centre backs by next summer, end of next summer window. And if we don't get one this summer, we're going to be in the exact same situation we are with midfield right now, where we're desperate. Teams are going to hike prices up because we're desperate. We could be in trouble for a few years if we don't get this transfer window right, Tigo. We could be in trouble for a few years because one is if Van Dijk might not find his form back. He's getting older anyway. Matip's going to go. Konate's injury prone. Gomez isn't good enough anymore. Nat Phillips is obviously gone. One centre back this summer should be absolute key and should be the reason why we move players on next season, if that makes sense. We're going to make the same mistakes again and again. We should not be letting Fabinho go and get his replacement now. We should have got his replacement last year or the season before that and let him gel in and learn under Fabinho. Instead, we're now in a situation where people know we ain't got a Fabinho. People know we ain't got an entrant now. So they're saying, well, here you go, 90 million, we'll slap 90 million on him. We know you're desperate. You're not going to do it. And before I do, I'm gonna go through the tweet I did yesterday then to finish off for this stream because it did get some traction. And people say you don't do it for views. I don't give a crap if one person views my tweet or is my opinion, my tweet, my opinion. And if people agree with it or disagree with it, that's up to them. I don't care if it gets 10 views or it got 190k views. By the way, that's to me that I don't know how that even happens, but it seems to be negative views. It seems to be negative tweets that get that, but I don't mean to do that. I'm not always negative. I put positive tweets out, I don't get any views at all. So I'm going to say before that, though, please like and subscribe. We've had some decent numbers again tonight, back again tomorrow night, back again Saturday night, and back again Sunday night. Every single night, 7:30. We've got a podcast out tomorrow at 4 o'clock. If you like and subscribe and get that notification bell on, we will not let you down. So on to my tweet then yesterday, Racing Tico. I did say, if Liverpool were to sign the Declan Rice, we wouldn't be spending for 3 years unless we sell a Salah. Whilst Arsenal have spent £100 million on a Declan Rice, they've got Timber, they've got Havertz. I'm not saying Havertz is a brilliant player, but they paid for Havertz. They're looking to get Kudos in, all in the same window. And I ended it with then ambition for success is different to ambition for money. You can have the ambition to money and success together, but it seems like FSG, Tico, only care about the money.
Yeah, and if you go for success, you'll eventually get the money. So yeah, we definitely need ambition for success. And you just mentioned it. Arsenal, they have done a great job at signing what they need. And to be honest, I was ready to lose at least Hendo because we know that with McAllister and Soboslai, he was not going to start a lot, especially when we have Curtis Jones, who's right there knocking on the door, and Harvey Elliott, who's ready to prove a lot more. But losing Fabinho has been really devastating for us because we don't have that experience in that position. And yeah, we might need to pay big, and if we want to have that ambition for success, that's what we need.
I always get the comebacks I get is saying money don't buy you success. Money don't buy you success. I'm not saying let's spend Man City money. By the way, we should be at least spending Arsenal money and even Aston Villa money at times, right? But for me, there's proof there in the pudding, and people put out there, well, look at Man United, they spent this, and they've not won out. Look at Everton, they spent this, and they've won out. Look at Liverpool. Look at Liverpool. Look at when Liverpool's biggest spending summer was. Van Dijk, Alisson. And what came after that? Champions League, Premier League. Liverpool are the prime example right there that when we spend a little bit more, we get success. And sometimes, like I said earlier about the DM, you've got to pay it sometimes. This is an important role in a team. And if it's 80 million for Caicedo, you can pay 80 million for Caicedo. We're not Luton Town. We shouldn't be struggling for money. The Liverpool Football Club were one of the biggest clubs in the world with a bigger revenue than Manchester United, by the way. That's what came out this season. We had bigger revenue than Manchester United, who behind Real Madrid, the biggest club in the world. So you can't lie to me that we don't have the money. We're saving countless wages, by the way. People say we spent 100 million this summer. But look how the wages that have come off. That's probably paid for him alone. We've got no Champions League next season, but again, the wages cover that. The wages that we're saving on these players. Look at Milner's wage, Fabinho's wage, Henderson's wage. They're big wages. Even Keita's wage were quite big. So we're saving there. We're not going to miss out on much money to not afford players like Caicedo, for example, now. And when people use stupid examples of Manchester United spend money and Everton spend money and don't bring them success, look at your own team first, because the only time we spent big money, we got success the seasons after. The Champions League, then the Premier League. And we shouldn't have to rely on a Coutinho. And I said at the end that, unless we sell a Salah, we shouldn't have to do that. We shouldn't have to do that. Why should we have to sell Salah to buy a Caicedo? Why should we have to sell Coutinho to get a Van Dijk and an Alisson? Klopp shouldn't have to be losing players to gain players. He should be getting players. Fergie didn't do this for the 90s and 90s. He got rid of players sometimes. He was quite ruthless with it. Like Van Nistelrooy, he fell out with Van Nistelrooy, fell out with Beckham and said, "I have enough," But he replaced them with the money. And people say Fergie didn't spend. He broke records over and over again in the 90s. He broke record for Andy Cole. That's how he got Andy Cole out of Newcastle, because he broke the record for him. He broke a record for Cantona. Sometimes you just got to bite the bullet. But Race, let me ask you a question here. Would Klopp bite the bullet if he was allowed to?
Bite the bullet is in like spending the big money, or
just pay the money?
Sorry. Yeah, I mean, it's frustrating that sometimes it seems like we're pinching pennies here and there, and we know how good our team is and we know how good we can be. I mean, we just were in a quadruple charge 2 seasons ago. Like, we know that, like you said, when we spend the big money, it's worked out. And I've said this many times, like, Klopp doesn't miss on transfers. They almost always are a success. So it's frustrating that, if there's a dire need, why can't we just, spend the money? We know that it's going to work out. We've shown our quality the last, in this Klopp era recently. It's like it's like you almost have that obligation when you know that you have a really good side. Everything in the club, it just seems like it's all perfect. And so why would you not spend the money and bring in the right players and back, your ambition and really, create a really nice run of form here. Like we're 2 seasons, we're finished second place by 1 point, and we've been to 2 Champions League finals, or we've been to 3 and we won only one of them recently. And so it's like it is frustrating, because we see like Arsenal, like you just said, they're spending the big money. They just had a really good season. They were top of the Premier League and just missed out. But they see that, okay, we're right there. We just need to fine tune these areas. We need to get our Declan Rice. We need to get another center back. We needed to get another attacker, midfielder, whatever it is. they know that I liken it to when the season after we made the Champions League final in Kiev. That's the summer we bought Allison. We brought in Keita. I forget who else we got in that summer. But anyway, we recognize, Fabinho, we recognize that, okay, we're right there. We just need to bring, big money here and there. We need to bring in these players. And so we're kind of right now, specifically with this number 6 position, that's a key area. And you brought up a good point. Why not spend the big money on such an important position? And that's certainly, I agree with you there. But I just kind of my opinion, just kind of coming off the fact that our history shows we're not going to necessarily do our business that way. We're going to bring in multiple players. That's kind of where my analysis comes from. But I would love to.
That with this season, because if we're not willing to bite the bullet and pay for this, then we can't expect us to be in a title race. But we should be in a title race though, because we've got the best manager. We've got Jurgen Klopp, one of the best managers we've ever seen in this league. Probably the best manager under Paisley and Shankly. We've got Salah still here. We've still got Alisson Becker, the best keeper in the world. We've got Van Dijk. We've got Diaz, who looks unbelievable. We've got some unbelievable players. We should be challenging that league. And if we're let down again and left short again, then it's just completely ruined all this era, this Jurgen Klopp era, that we could have really created a huge legacy. Over penny pinching, and fans are allowing this to happen. I believe fans are allowing this to happen.
Yeah, it's really easy to be really optimistic about this team based on what we've accomplished. And you look at the other teams that are so-called, in the title race. Of course, we have Man City, but like a United, they've been a mess with managers and transfers and all that recently. Chelsea, they've spending big. They got their own problems there. Arsenal have finally turned up and have had a nice season, but I'm curious to see how they can sustain their success and if they will. And Spurs are just an afterthought. But, it's just like in comparison to all the other clubs that in theory are going to be, challenging for the title, especially in the Premier League, we are in a really good spot. We've just, of course, been unlucky with Man City just being a step above us, recently. But yeah, I would, I'm going into the season again thinking that we're going to challenge for the league and Europa League and all that.
I am too.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard not to think otherwise based on what we've accomplished, and we've so-called, we brought in 2 midfielders, and again, I keep bringing back to the midfield that we need to bring in now. But yeah, I'm certainly still hopeful that we're going to have a bright season in next few years here.
Some of the responses I get, right, I get a lot of abuse by certain FSG fans, but the responses I get is something like, well, you don't care about the club, you don't support the club if you don't care about the club. I give more shit about the club than what you're showing, because I want ambition. I want us to win the league. I want us to win trophies. And I want the best manager we've had since Paisley and Shankly to get the best tools to go there for win the trophies in the Premier League. And if he can get the best tools, then we're going to have a less chance of winning those. So for people to say you don't go to games or you don't care about the club, it's an absolute insult to the club itself. Because what are you wanting for the club? Are you happy with where FSG fans? Are you happy where FSG are doing this and we're underachieving under Klopp? Because that's what we're doing. We're underachieving at the moment under this manager. Not because of the manager's fault, because he's not being backed when he needs to be backed. He cannot keep performing miracles. He's got some incredible players, but he can't be left short. When we're losing the league by a point, when we're losing the Champions League in the final, it's fine margins. When we're losing the league, on the last day of the season, it's fine margins. But fine margins can be made up in the transfer window. People don't realise that. I'm going to always go back to Man United, and when Chelsea won the league off them, Fergie said, that's it, I need a goal scorer. He went to go get Van Persie. He was ruthless. I go get Van Persie. Van Persie won them that league that season. That's the kind of ambition you need. You don't have to pay this £100 million on every player, but sometimes you do. Say we get a Caicedo for 80 million, right? 80 million there, and then maybe get a Lavia. We can get By the way, we're paying installments anyway, so it's not like 80 million comes out now anyway. We'll pay like the 40 million upfront fee and 40 million over like 4 years, 10 million each year. What the fuck is that for Liverpool Football Club? What is that for Liverpool Football Club? Nothing. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And we shouldn't be relying on Klopp making miracles and fans saying, "Oh, it's only been one bad season." It's not been only one bad season, by the way. 2 seasons ago, we had a bad season, that injury-prone season, the injury season. And can't blame injuries for that, because there's only Van Dijk that was an unexpected injury, by the way. We went into a season with 3 centre-backs. Van Dijk, fair enough, he got injured. That was a freak injury. But then we had injury-prone Gomez and injury-prone Matip. 3 centre-backs. We didn't replace Lovren. We went into it and we relied on an Alisson Becker winner. If Alisson Becker didn't step up for a winner, we would have finished 5th. And is that a good season? It glossed over that season. The Alisson Becker goal glossed over that season. The quadruple run, I don't think we was as good as what we can be made out of as in that quadruple run. I think that was sheer hard work. I don't think we've been that good for 3 years. Not the levels we was at when we won the league. We haven't been good since we've won the league. Even last season, only the last 9 games last season, we was at that level of where we won the league. So 3 seasons we haven't been that good. I don't think. Not in terms of winning the league good. That was a different level. And when you need to get that level, you need to start paying up. You need to start paying for these players. It's not good enough anymore. It's simply not good enough. For me, the nail in the coffin last season for FSG, for me personally, people might be waking up to it this season, this summer. But I can't be optimistic for this transfer window to be right. And this needs to be the most important transfer window in the Jurgen Klopp era. And if you don't get it right, we're talking the next era is not going to be Jurgen Klopp. Jurgen Klopp's going to be going in 26, and these are the players that we need now for the next 10 years without Jurgen Klopp. So if we don't get this right, we could be knackered, Tico.
Yep. That's my biggest concern too. I mean, we need to get this right. And again, what you're saying, I feel you, because you're just thinking big, and that's what we need to do. We are Liverpool Football Club. We're not a bottom of a table team. So we need to have big ambitions, and we need to have that mindset in which we need to be looking for the best all the time. And if that means paying a lot to sign the right player, that's what we need. And just by adding to what you were saying, we do need to be thinking about what's going to happen next year and in 2 years. And this is our moment. We need to sign big. We need to sign at least what we need for the midfield and move on and be thinking about what we need to sign for our defense, which is going to be in a bad position in the future.
Right, boys, we'll end it there. And yeah, it's been transfer essential, but there's not many transfers going on in terms of income. Anyway, we've let go 4 or 5 players in before anyway for free, and then 2 massive players have left. I'm not saying massive players again out on the field. I think the Hender one killed me more because the Fabinho one killed me more because I think Fabinho could still offer something on the pitch, and especially if we need to bring a DM in, they can learn off him. But Hender, for me, it was past it anyway. I still don't like how he's left. You know, his legacy, it's not ruined, but it's a slight stain on his legacy. And he shouldn't be leaving the way he has, and they shouldn't be pushing out for out of the club. It's club captain for him anyway, but it's made him who he is. By the way, we've made him who he is. You know, he's a player at Sunderland. He was never going to eat their mites, and Jurgen Klopp's especially made him who he is. To treat Jurgen Klopp like that by pushing a move, to me, it's unforgivable in a way. As much as I love Henderson, I love what he's done for the club. Incredible captain. By the way, Before anyone says he's not a better captain than Steven Gerrard, I'm not having this as a debate ever, because I've seen that on Twitter for quite a while. Give Steven Gerrard this team, we win the quad 3 times. I am telling you. We did not lose to Real Madrid last season in the final if we had Gerrard. He fucking dragged us up. There's no way we lose that. So don't get me started with that fucking debate. That is not a debate in my mind. He might have won a more successful captain. That's a completely different argument to what is a better captain. And how he dragged. Gerrard dragged mediocre players to a Champions League. Henderson would never ever do that. Gerrard made shit players into decent players. Decent enough to win trophies anyway. So that's a different debate to have on a different stream. I will get people. I might get different people on that have that view of Henderson being a better captain. That's not me, and they need shutting down those players. But in terms of his Liverpool legacy, yes, the most successful Liverpool captain of my generation anyway. In terms of what we've won, Premier League, Champions League, we could be more thankful enough for him. The Endo shuffle. Could we be seeing the Verd shuffle sometime soon, Tico and Race? Because Soberslide let one go today with a captain with a hint on Instagram. Yeah, but thank you Henderson for everything that you've done for us. But I don't agree with how you've done it. I don't agree that you've pushed that move. In terms of players coming in, it's not really looking that good, to be honest, because of the price that clubs are putting on us. 50 million for Lavia, 64 million for Kimmich, 80 million for Caicedo, 80 million for Doucoure. But we only have ourselves to blame. We only have FSG to blame for not backing Klopp in the last 2 windows. Because we're in a desperate situation now. And I warned early on in the stream that we're going to be in this situation next year with centre-backs. We need 2 centre midfielders this summer. We need 1 centre-back this summer. I can deal without having a right-back. But these 3 positions are so key, not just for this season, but for the next season and the season after that. Domino effect works. And domino effect is already working on us right now. We need to start fixing that domino effect to start going forwards instead of backwards. Those dominoes are falling backwards. We need to change the direction. And the only way we do that is in this transfer window. And if we don't get this transfer window right, we're knackered for a few years. If you want Klopp to leave with just 1 league title and 1 Champions League title, then are you accepting that as a fan? I'm not. I don't think Klopp is accepting that. But that's when we need to start putting our foot. I said it last summer. We need to keep our foot on FSG. It's now or never, Liverpool fans. We need to keep our foot right on FSG, because as soon as we let our foot off, we would have. If it was up to them, we'd have no more signings. By the way. So it's up to you now, Liverpool fans, to keep this foot on FSG, because what do you want this season? A top 4 challenge again? Or do you want a title challenge? It's been me, Damon, Rafe, and Kiko. This has been a Transfer Central. This is the LSE Transfer Room. Make sure you like and subscribe. Podcast out tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Again, another live tomorrow night and live every night, weekend and midweek. We've got a game Monday against, I think it was against my Monday, but we will have a watch along live on this channel as well on Monday. I think it's 12 o'clock kickoff over BST time. So yeah, please make sure you put your notification bell on. We'll be live as soon as we can for you guys. And thank you for joining in, and thank you for the regulars. Thank you for the super chat as well, Jan. It's been a pleasure, guys. Up the Reds.